People were told not to touch this ugly cat, but one man chose not to listen. For a little stray cat, life had been a torrent of bad luck and pain. When he took residence in an apartment complex, every door was shut on him, every foul word thrown at him, and every effort was made to avoid him. Nicknamed Ugly by the residents of the apartment complex, the tomcat certainly wasn't a pretty sight to behold. Misfortune had made its permanent mark on his malformed, skinny body. If it hadn't been for his sores, Ugly would have grown into a striped, dark gray tabby, yet his appearance had other stories to tell as well. For starters, the poor thing only had one eye. Standing in the place of the other eye was a stark, empty socket. On the same side as his empty eye socket, for instance, Ugly was also missing an ear. In place of his tail, the cat only had a sorry-looking stump that would frantically jerk around. And it wasn't just Ugly's appearance that those who encountered him found off-putting. His general conduct didn't always inspire the warmest affection in people either. For example, with no one to look after him, he was always rummaging through garbage on the hunt for his next meal. Ugly's looks and behavior naturally alienated him from any kind of love. The tomcat made some of those he encountered turn away in disgust, in fact. Children were warned to keep their distance, and people even went as far as throwing things at the poor animal. Instead, Ugly was always met with hostility. In an attempt to keep him away from their homes, some people would come out armed with hoses and try to scare the cat off by squirting water at him. If he attempted to go into their houses, they slammed the door on him. Ugly never fought back against the cruelty he encountered. In fact, instead, he took any opportunity to make a new friend. If people threw things at him, rather than hiss and snarl, he would approach their feet to beg for forgiveness. Although he very rarely received them, Ugly loved cuddles. Whenever he was picked up, he would show his affection by curling up and nibbling pieces of clothing, jewelry, anything he could get his teeth on. One day, Ugly found himself in a hairy situation involving a group of huskies who lived in the same apartment complex. He seemingly just wanted to make friends with them, but the dogs started attacking him. From my apartment, I could hear his screams, and I tried to rush to his aid, the man recalled in a video posted to YouTube in March 2018. Rushing out, he feared that he might be too late. It looked like Ugly was about to take his last breath, but the man refused to leave the cat in such a critical condition. So he lifted Ugly's limp body. As I picked him up and tried to carry him home, I could hear him wheezing and gasping, and I could feel him struggling, the man explained. With Ugly clearly in so much pain, the neighbor was terrified that he'd made a mistake by picking up the cat. But thankfully, he couldn't have been more wrong. At the time, the man didn't know that Ugly was an affectionate animal, so what happened next took him completely by surprise. Amidst Ugly's cries, the neighbor was shocked to feel a suckling on his ear. The cat had reached up to show the kind stranger some love, and in return, the man made sure that Ugly could nestle his head against his hand. The ragged creature's plight for affection warmed the neighbor to the core. At that moment, I thought Ugly was the most beautiful, loving creature I'd ever seen, the man recalled. Never once did he try to bite or scratch me, or even try to get away from me or struggle in any way. In that instant, the pair shared a special connection. Ugly just looked up at me, completely trusting in me to relieve his pain, the neighbor said. But unfortunately, this wasn't enough to save the innocent cat. Once back at his apartment, the neighbor wasn't quite ready to let Ugly go, so he held the cat for a while. Holding the animal's little body, the neighbor reflected on what had just happened, thinking about how one scarred, deformed little stray could so alter my opinion about what it means to have true pureness of spirit, to love so totally and truly. Maybe for the first time in his life, Ugly had positively impacted upon someone's life. In those fleeting moments, he had opened the neighbor's eyes to the importance of selflessness and taking care of those in need. As we've heard, this heart-trending story was subsequently shared on YouTube and has since been viewed more than 4 million times, touching the hearts of many. As for the neighbor, he will forever treasure the lessons that Ugly taught him. His encounter with the stray, although brief, forced him to appreciate the important things in life. Many people want to be richer, more successful, well-liked, beautiful. But for me, I will always try to be ugly.